This conference will now be recorded.
Yesterday we saw the introduction, right? Today we'll continue with this. Okay, so here, so we have discussed on the integrations, right? So usually, what is an integration? So integration refers to a process of integrating or connecting the two systems. And getting the data and transforming the data and sending across the data. So that is what integration is all about. So it can be any integration tool, or it can be CPI or Boomi or like whatever the integration tool we work. So it's like data integration mainly. The data integration includes, okay, so fetch, manipulate, and send it across. Okay, so that's what we are going to do it across. Okay, now this data, what are the applications we can integrate? So we can integrate to SAP applications, non-SAP applications. So what are SAP applications we have? So the SAP applications include, okay, so you have a success factors, which is an SAP application. So you have a Ariba, so which is an SAP application, S4 HANA, okay, ECC. All those belongs to SAP applications. Okay, so as non-SAP, what are the databases which we have? So databases which we have is like a MySQL, and other things. Okay, so non-SAP systems. So any it can be a certificate server or mail server, whatever it is called as a, it is a non-SAP system actually. So now this integration, what is that? So now these are we are going to integrate. So what is the importance? Why any organization we have on-premise systems, right? So the on-premise systems, okay, whatever the on-premise, whatever the on-premise systems, and we have a cloud systems, right? What is the advantage of going to a cloud infrastructure? Now we are also going to from pay-per-use on-prem infrastructure to cloud infrastructure. What is the purpose of going to a cloud infrastructure? See, what is it? What is that business requires, and what is the a, cloud infrastructure will provide you? So here, what is the business require? Business in the sense. So what does an organization require? So business requires, they require a flexibility. See, today, let's suppose say that, okay, so today we are running an application, so we require so much of hardware is required, right? So you wanted to store, let's suppose say 50 terabytes of data or like 1,000 terabytes of data you wanted to have. And for that, you need servers, right? So you need servers to run and you wanted to fetch the data and you wanted to maintain the hardware, you have to maintain the network and firewalls. So there are a lot of things, right? Whenever you wanted to maintain. But when you go for a cloud, so you are going to lease it. Okay, how much you want. So what you'll do, you'll go to the particular cloud provider and you'll say that, see, this is my requirement. So I need this much of space. So you can dynamically increase the space as well, right? So which data center you wanted to have your application running. So what is the security protocols you can have? So here you are not going to invest. So let's suppose say that your business is not running tomorrow, like for the next 5 years, the third year you are not going to run. There is a by there is something kind of came up, so your business is no more is there. So your infrastructure will not be a burden actually. So let's suppose say if you buy servers and your enterprise runs on their own, so still they have to maintain it. Still they have to maintain it. But when you go for a cloud, so there is no agreement like okay, so the agreements can be there, but it's not for a longer periods, right? It will be for 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years. Okay. So you are going to have an agreement with them. Okay, after 5 years, if your business is not working as expected, so you can drop off. So you don't have, so you are going to pay for what you are going to use it. You're going to pay for what you are going to use it. Certain, see, sometimes what you can do, you can migrate your applications from different data centers. Let's suppose sometimes you'll have a you'll have a Asia Pacific region, you'll have a data center. You wanted to move it to a North American region. So easily in the cloud strategy, so you can move it to different data centers as well. And cost wise also, see, security wise, if you wanted to implement complete up to date algorithm, up to date other features which we have, so you have to spend so much of money, and you have to spend so much of uh, this thing, I mean, on resources, on leasing to that. So it is going to cost. But when it is onto a data center, so you are going to take a cloud environment. What happens with the cloud environment? So a cloud So what happens with the cloud environment? So you don't have to, they will maintain. So that's the reason in the cloud. So there are most of the people, even the bigger enterprises, instead of using their own, right, so they're going for major players. So who are the major players? The major players are like AWS, Azure, Google, or Amazon. So we have a multiple cloud operators are there. Even organizations, if they wanted to have security, so they have a smaller cloud environment are there. So even they are having a private cloud, which means that, so what is the difference between public cloud and private cloud? So public cloud, anyone can subscribe, anyone can run their application, anyone can use the resources. But private cloud is confined to their particular, within an organization, within a single organization only, it is confined actually. So what is that business required, and what is this a cloud provides? I hope everyone knows about cloud, but this is what it is all about. Okay, so now in CPA itself, in BTP itself, okay, so there were two platforms over there. Okay, there was a Neo environment, and there is a Cloud Foundry environment. Right now, what is the environment that we are working? So we are going to work on the Cloud Foundry. So when it comes to integration standpoint, so when it comes to integration standpoint, so for us, so languages is not required. So you don't want to have, we know, right, multiple services are there. ABAP we have, there are multiple services are there, right? So before, when this is a older environment, Neo is a older environment where this environment used to run on SAP servers only. This environment used to run on SAP servers only. Now your servers can run in anywhere, AWS, Azure, or GCP. You can center, and you can choose the data as well. I mean, where is the data center, which region you wanted to have, so that can be run on it. So now, see here, I'll show it across to you here. See, where is us? See, who is the provider for us? On which region we are running this? This is the provider, and so here is the provider. Azure is the provider. Sorry, Microsoft Azure is the provider, and it's Singapore region. In real time, see, this is like whenever you want, whenever we are creating an account, right? So it'll ask, it'll give you option to only for Azure, and will give you for AWS. It will give only two options it will give. But in real time, so enterprise decides so which region and who would be your provider. So which region and who would be your provider. Okay, so that's what your enterprise decides actually. And now let's get further. So here, what kind of a, see, visa architecture, but what kind of a this thing we are going to, so the architecture is a three-tier architecture actually. So you'll have a one global account. Under global account, you'll have a three sub accounts will be there. So why you need a three sub accounts? So here one would be a dev, and the other would be a quality, prod. So it's a three. So these three environments. Okay, so this is your global account, and under the under the global account, you'll have a three environments there in real time also. See here, under global account, you'll have one sub account. This is your global account, under which we will have three sub accounts actually. So the three sub accounts, see the global account runs on the given server, which is like a whether it is on running on Azure or like AWS. That's a choice of an enterprise. You are not going to decide, or I am not going to decide. So this is like, so when an organization wants to run their application, so they are going to decide on this. Let's suppose say when you are working, so let's suppose say you are working for TCS. So your see your client is BT. Who is going to decide in this case? So BT is going to decide where their infrastructure should be stationed and run. So they're going to choose their cloud, not your TCS will not choose it. BT will decide. This particular enterprise, they will decide actually. So tomorrow project may be moved from TCS to let's suppose it CTS. So they give BT give their environment to a CTS. So it's not the choice of TCS. This is the choice of the organization and the client. It will be there. Now, if you see across here, see under trial home, if you go here, see here, this is your global account. This is your global account, and here who is the provider? Azure is the provider, and who is which region? So the region is Singapore. So you'll come to know where you have. This is your global account. See somewhere here, this symbols represents a global account. Okay. So now under which, see this is your sub account. This is your trial is one of the sub accounts. So likewise, here you have one trial is a one sub account, right? Under which what happens? You'll have a three sub accounts. See, likewise, here we have mentioned it as a dev. So here it is as a trial, but you will have a dev and you have a QA or you have a prod. Three sub accounts will be there. So it's also a three-tier architecture system. Three-tier architecture system. Under this sub account, then you'll have other features. So under this sub account, whether you wanted to subscribe for integration suite or you wanted to subscribe it for what you wanted to subscribe, that's up to us actually. And in each environment, see under this environment, so I have an integration suite. Under this also I will have a by default. So if you have, you'll have an integration suite. So here I can have API management. Maybe still it is API management. The interfaces are not yet deployed, so it can be in the QA also. It is not mandatory to have it in a production. It is not mandatory to have a in production. So that's based on the subscription. The subscription you make here, see, you are going to subscribe to the services, right? The services. So the services you are subscribing is for not to a global account. This is for a sub account. This is for a sub account actually. This see this sub account, right? So here you can choose what are the services you want under development, what is the services you want under QA. So this is by separate, you have to subscribe these services actually, dev, QA, prod and all. You can subscribe it, post which, so who has access to it? So then you are going to create users under each account. Here, this is what it is. So here we should know which user will have access to this account. See, you can create, let's suppose say I can take it as a something shubha@gmail.com or something I can create it across. So create. So now after creating a sub account, we are creating, but by default you can't create with a Gmail and all. So if you enter an organization, so if you enter to any organization, they are going to create a S user for you. They are going to create a S user. This S user, on which mail ID it's been attached, it's been linked to your mail ID. You'll be official mail ID you'll be having. So once you have this particular official mail ID linked to it, only with this mail ID we can create a user summit. Let's suppose say today you are working on BT. You have one S user is there. Tomorrow you switch to let's suppose say Airbus project, or day after tomorrow you are switched to, see, you are not going to work your lifetime onto a single project, right? So you are going to work on multiple projects you are going to work on, so Airbus, and the other project would be something, let's suppose say a Renault. So with the same single S user attached a mail, you can create, see, there will be for BT, there is your integration suite or BTP account is different. For this project, integration suite account is different. For Renault, this is different. With the same S user, you can, even the endpoint URLs will be different. Endpoint URLs will be different. So for this account for BT, you will be created one. So you are a user. Here they are going to create a separate user. Here they are going to create a separate user for you. So the based on the endpoints, you can log into different accounts. You can log in. So likewise, so here we are going to create a S user, but this particular S user, okay. So whenever you are going to see, if you get a chance, like you have access to BTP, they are asking you to create an S user for someone newly they have joined, right? So then you have to check whether the particular email ID, that the person's mail ID have already an S user or not. Yes, if they have an S user, then only you can create an account here. After creating an account, click on here, then there is something called as a role collection. So what is a role collection? What permissions you wanted to give it to him? What is the permissions that you wanted to give it to him? See here, we have a read only, just that you can log into a tenant integration suite. Just see, these are the PI roles, PI underscore roles are integration suite roles. These are the only four roles are there. Okay, so see here, you'll have the description here as well. So you are going to have this PA read only, just that this person cannot develop or test or cannot modify also. Just he can see that what's happening. So if you have an integration developer, so what is that integration developer? So he'll have access to integration suite only. What is the integration suite? So here you have this application, right? This is your BTP. So I hope everyone aware, right? This is a BTP. BTP is different, and under BTP, integration suite is a one of the application. So integration suite is one of the application. So now what we are going to do is that this is the application. Now in this application, what are the roles you wanted to provide to the particular user? See, everyone is not a super user. Okay, so some people will have access. So mostly they will not give you access to BTP. Go to roles and assign a role collection. Here we can assign the role collection here. What is that? PI underscore. This is for integration suite. So administrator, business expert. So this particular person will have access to everything, to BTP, and so for other roles. Once you have access to a BTP, then you have access to development. You have all the access. You'll have it. Okay, so you have to give integration developer and these things, not only BTP, and you'll have access to these roles as well. So this is onto your role collection. What permissions a certain user have. So likewise, so you have a, see now you have a development, QA and prod. On each environment, you have to create a user. If you create a user on development, so he can't use his access to a QA and prod. So if you are creating same user is given, sometimes what they do is like they won't give access to a production as soon as they join. Let's suppose say you have joined in a new project, so they'll ask you to they'll ask you to sit with some of your senior and what they are doing or observe, and post which they'll ask if you are less experienced. If you are with experience, comes up with 4 years, 5 years of experience, they will allow you to production as well. But most of the time, so they'll ask you to shadow, and for few days, then only they'll give you initial access. Would be for development and the QA system, you'll have an access actually. So whenever you create a user, so you have to create a user on development, quality, and production. So let's suppose if they are asking you, some of your manager is asking you to create an access for that particular person. So you have to confirm with them. By default, you don't create access to all the environments. Check with them, do I have to create access to the particular user for all the environments or not? If say yes, then only you create. So not on Word or not on your Teams. So drop them a mail. See, you have to in this. I mean, you guys are there in this and this setup for quite a while. But whenever you guys do any changes on your BTP accounts, so make it official. Make it official is a drop a mail. So let's suppose say that, okay, so as discussed, so you write to your manager saying that, okay, so as discussed, so I have created a user. I have created a user for this person, and loop him and your loop the person for whom you created also. So likewise, you are going to document everything. So see, usually what happens, okay, so see, they'll say and they'll forget. But if something happens, so it will come to your head when you have access to this BTP and all. It's quite, it's not good to have. Okay, so some mistakes can happen. The whole environment get. I mean, if it's a production, the whole production or quality also very important only. So there will be issues, then you will get blamed. So that's the reason. Document everything whenever you have. Okay, so you can create an access. That's what we do. So what do? We are going to create an access and assign the roles for each individual. Each here you can have multiple number of people. There is no limitation for number of users on each environment. Okay, so you have to go here, go to global, and select which sub account you wanted to create user and create here, and then go to particular users. In security, you can have users. Under users, so under users, so we can create a user and we can assign the roles. Okay, and then so now there's a one more thing that we do. So in instances and subscriptions, so anyways, the application will be here there by the time you join and you are in a project integration suite. You don't have to provision this application. So this application also can be provisioned. We will see in the next session whenever we are creating an account. So we are going to provision an account. What is a provisioning and all? I'll show it across to you, so you'll be able to do it. Now, other activity that we do on BTP is like so this particular key renewals here. So what you have to do whenever someone wants to send across the data, let's suppose say to CPI, if someone wants to share the data, send across the data, so what you have to do, so he should know the URL or endpoint. He should know. He should know endpoint, and he should know the credentials as well. So here he should know the credentials of this particular application as well as CPI. So where you are going to generate an endpoint. So endpoint you are going to generate in integration suite. But credentials you are going to generate in BTP. Is there is a lot of difference between BTP and integration suite. So this is your a BTP and this is your application integration suite. So now here you have to come to see here instances and subscriptions. Under instances and subscriptions, you have something under instances. So you'll have a runtime instance here. Under this instance, so we have something called as a service keys. You come here and you are going to create a service key over here. So when you service, there are different ways of creating service key. So client ID, certificate, and external certificate. Client ID, certificate, and external certificate. Okay, so the client ID and secret, using this client ID and secret, so you're going to create a key. When you create a key, you'll have the key in this particular format. It will have a client ID, a client secret, a token URL. When is that we have created the key? So these details will be there. So we are going to provide these key details to the sending application. We are going to provide it across. Then the particular person would be able to send across the data to a CPI or integration suite, we call it. So these are the activities that we do. So one is that you are going to create a users, and then you are going to create a user and assign the roles, and you are going to renew the keys. There are this is like a client ID. So with uh, private public key also, key pairs also, we can create the credentials that I'll show it little later. So these are the activities that you are going to perform. So these subscriptions and all, it's not part of us. So they would be there already. So we are going to create, and how do you create a subscription and how do you create an instance and all, we will see it in the next session. But these are the activities that we are going to perform in integration suite. Any questions?
No more.
Okay, so the next thing is like, so there is a one more advantage of using, see here. So there is a something called as there is a use of, there is a one use of, okay, so there is something called as a pre-packed content. So what is a pre-packed content? So in the pre-packed content, so there is something called as a pre-packed content, which means the pre-packed content in the sense, so you have in here in the inst, sorry, I'll show it across here itself. See here in your integration suite, so there is an option called as a discover, and under discover, so under discover, we have an option as a integrations action. Here there is a lot of see, you get a business requirement, and after getting a business requirement you customize the flow, right? Based on your sender, based on your receiver applications, you are going to customize the applications. Customization in the sense, you are going to develop the applications, you are going to develop the applications after a, see, after here you are going to develop. But so here we have something called as a pre-packed content, which means that, so you have an application already, so you have an iFlow that's already been developed and deployed. So you have a pre-packed content, the sense there is an application which is has been already developed and it is deployed. It is there already. Actually, you have here, this is a central repository. It's like a central repository. So you can go see here, you can check it out. In the pre-packed content, we have two things. One is editable, in the sense this particular iFlow can be edited, and the other one is configure only. This is a configure only. In the configure only, you just so you have some parameters, you just configure and you are going to deploy it. So here, so here uh, if you see across here, here based on your, see, who is going to develop, most of the iFlows were developed, most of the packages were developed by SAP, and here there are applications and the packages, they have been developed by other vendors as well. So based on for what they have developed, see here, see the lines of business for sales, for finance, for so industries, for which industries. So now if you wanted to have, see, let's suppose say tomorrow I'm going to develop a interface on success factors I require. So you can have success factors. See here, there are a lot of integrations, see, on success factors, the employee data applications, or like employee territory quota. There are multiple success factors. Already it's there. Here there are a lot of see SAP integration with ADP tax credit. This is the particular integration you wanted to work on. So for replicating tax credits. So if you go here and just that you have to copy here, what is the mode? It is a configure only. The configure only, so you can't make any changes to the iFlow. In editable, we can make the changes to the iFlow. So that's the difference between configure only and editable. See here. So this is the package, right? That we have copied. So if you go here, so here we have something else, SAP success factors integration with ADP credits. You have to copy. You can't. This is your central repository. From here, you can't do anything. So here, you are going to copy it. So we are going to copy this particular, and now you have to see here. There are in this particular each package will have again multiple artifacts or iflows will be there. So each iflow, see, do I have to use all the iflows in the package? No, it's not required. So based on your need and necessity, whatever you wanted to use it, you can use it. So there are multiple are there here, right? So you can click on here and you just have to configure. See here, you don't have an option for editing it. So we don't have an option. We don't have an option to edit. So go here and configure. So you are what you are going to configure when you wanted to schedule live flow and who is what is the receiver endpoint and credential or like see you'll have a OData. So OData endpoint and their credential. And if there are any variable parameters, so you can configure and you can save and deploy it. You can save and deploy it. See, already this iflow is there. You don't have to make any changes. Why we have some standard iflows? So this is called as a, we call it as a pre-packed content, or we call it as a standard iflows. We call it as a standard iflows. In standard, you have these standard iflows. So we don't use much often. So 5-10%. So like employee data replication, org data replication, or cost center replication. There are some kind of replications standard. I will see related to some governments. There is some iflows will be there for replicating your tax details to government websites and all, right? So in those, you'll have this particular. You can go and search actually. See here. So this has been tax credits. ADP tax credits was one of the things. So Vero portal tax card. So this is for a different organization actually. Vero portal tax card. So one source tax provision with the JC journal entries. So there is like a lot of things are there actually. So you can use and you can test it. That is onto your iflow standard iflows. You'll have both pre-packed, both editable and it is there. So you are going to go to a central repository, and from central repository, so you are going to copy it to a local repository, and then here you are going to test. See again, see these interfaces, you are going to test it. You are not going to do anything in development stage. So nothing in development, it's already, you don't have any work in development, and only in quality you are going to test it and then move it to production. Then you are going to move into a production. The advantage of using standard iflows is that, so if it is with the configure only, let's suppose say the configure. So there is some updates came up, some new fields came up with the success factors you wanted to be added. That's it. Automatically the updates will be applied onto your applications. So whatever the iflows you are using, automatically updates will be happening on both in production and quality also. That's the advantage of it. You don't have to make the customization. If you wanted to update, I mean, standard, I mean, like, let's suppose say from tax team, so there is an update happen. So SAP automatically updates these iflows. But in the customized iflows, in the sense where you develop, you have to do it manually. Here, automatically it happens in the standard iflows. That is the advantage of it. And SAP also supports you here. I mean, SAP will have a know these particular iflows. they can give you a solution quicker than, see, for whatever we work, right? When you require, so on SAP, if you raise a SAP ticket, so what happens? So they are going to give you a support on your iFlows. So you are going to give access to them, and once you have an access to them, your iFlows to your environment, they will check your iFlows. If there is any issues, they are going to give you as a support. Okay. Any questions till now? Yeah. So we'll call it a day because we have few more people. I don't know, they haven't joined. So from the next session, so we'll see across. We'll create an account, a trial account first, and then we'll start working on from the practicals from the next session. Okay.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
for creating an account, do we need to create a new Gmail with SAP
No,
account
no,
or?
no. No, no, no. So just you have your, if you have any existing Gmail, just get that existing Gmail and you get me a phone number. So I'll create you an account.
Okay, okay. And
Yeah.
I already have this BTP cockpit and integration suite. I think for a few months it is inactive. I think. Can we
No, no,
reactive
no,
or
no. No, that won't be
active?
possible. It is only for, see here, if you check an account here, so here it is only for days it will keep ticking. So even your cockpit will be there. If you use it regularly, they will give you for 90 days. After that, it will expire. So here is not a permanent account. Here it will be there. Your integration suite is only for 30 days. So later on, you have to create a new account.
Okay, we can't extend as such. Okay,
No, no, that's not possible. Before it was 90 days. Now from last 6 months, they made it only for a month.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.